2 weeks, and we've not covered every detail with the first and second declension. For example, there's neuter second declension nouns which have slightly different endings in the noun and the accusative than the masculine ones do. Like masculine ones would be like huyas and a bunch of others. But nouns would fall for the second declension. And then likewise for the first declension, there are also some different nouns that fall under the heading of first declension, but follow slightly different rules than what we've seen. So we may cycle back and hit those at some point in the future. Just know that most first and second declension nouns will that we've seen so far. There will be some stuff to learn at some point. The idea of first and second declension nouns and looking at a lot of the forms of some future night. The third declension is more complicated than the first two. So you really like declensions, and then maybe you'd wish there were 4 or 5. So for you to learn those 5 declensions. First, we will move into verbs. This will be just dipping our toe into the water. That kind of a thing. There's a lot of different aspects to it. They give a lot of possibility for nuance, for shading, for flexibility. There's a lot of things to consider. But I think what's in the will hopefully the gears in our minds turning around some of the ideas that we'll be seeing. So I'm just going to hit you with 6 forms here. You can see them in this box. We'll be starting to get some of the ideas that we can do. It's definitely related to the English word. So here we have activity. Have accumulation as you go along into each. So you're able to take these terms and so recommend as you go along, as you're learning the things is making sure that you have blocks of time where you're reviewing previous material, because unless you're a very read person, you'll not study if you feel how you've grasped it. So cycle. I've heard figures as like 80% of your study should be going back over previous material, and then 20% like looking at new material. You can work at to stop you or intimidate you, but you're going to be getting terminology along. Usually there's a reason for it. So present tense, concisely we may say the present active indicatives. So I'm going to break down some parts of this, but there will be a lot more to explore as we go. So present as opposed to like future tense. So what we're going to be talking about that are describing an action right now. Active is like actively doing something, doing an action instead of passively receiving it. It's sort of a simplification of how the Greek works. How and so like In this case, we're going to say this lu has to do with destroying, because it's active destroying. If it was passive, it would be like being destroyed. You see the difference? They destroy a city versus the city is destroyed, but passive. Destroyed, isn't
Question. Was Lou, and getting my languages mixed up, but did that ever mean to listen in any
Yes,
sense?
yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah,
Okay, all right.
we'll get to that momentarily. So present as opposed to like future, so the active as opposed to passive. Indicative as opposed to say making a command. Subjunctive, which is something more of like a short possibility, or hypothetical sort of a situation. Indicative is like you're stating something as a fact. Now, what you see in common in these 6 boxes is lu and the upsilon. You can see that as the same. This stem here, we say that doesn't change, or the part of it before you add on some ending is the stem. You'll never see a stem by itself in an actual Greek text. It's always going to be stem with at least one ending. There might be multiple prefixes and suffixes. In this case, that's why we start with the present indicative usually, is because you just have one ending. But in other verb forms, you'll find multiple prefixes or suffixes. So the part that doesn't change is the stem. The stem for this is lu. Means to loose, destroy. Loosing. It could even sort of like setting free or something like that. But then it could also mean destroy. So this is a good example of how one language to another, you're going to have different vantage points on things, different ways of thinking about things, as evidenced in the words of language. So to us, it's kind of a strange thing, loosing and destroying, to have that together as one word. Train of thought is so you can loose something where you're separating from something it was like enmeshed with. If you were to like loose the ends of something from them and hold them together, you would be destroyed. So the idea of freeing something from its whatever it is that holds it together leads to the thing's destruction in certain situations, leads into the idea of like destruction. So it's, it's a different way of conceptualizing things, and you'll get this in any language. You get this a lot. It's just different ways of thinking about things, different combinations of ideas that to us as English speakers might seem like totally different ideas, but then in another language, it's really the same idea. Conversely, there can be things that we lump together with one verb, which they might have, and English would be confused. These totally separate ideas put together into one word. The thing about this loop, you might wonder, is why selecting such a grim word. You're going to be hearing a lot about loosing and destroying. Yes, yes.
Kill.
Yes, really.
Big brain to start everybody out.
Yeah. So, some, like in Hebrew, some grammars will pick a different verb for that, but it is pretty standard in Hebrew to have as your like basic verb where you learn how to go through the different tenses and things. To use a verb to kill, so like it's quite common. So yeah, you do kind of wonder if there was sort of a bellicose nature to some of the writers of grammars of these languages. In the cases though for Hebrew and for Greek, um, certain logic to it. Think about the Greek here for this stem. This being thing means destroy. Simply, it's other than that, it's quite a beautiful thing. It's two letters, syllable. So, it's very nice to us, despite its destructive tendencies. It's actually very kind because there's other stems where, like for example, you can think of a very innocuous verb like to speak, lala. Isn't that nice, lala, to speak? It's a very nice verb. If you're going to put that verb into this box, um, if you're looking at this box, it looks like if you want to do this is, as we'll see, this is the first person plural. So if you're going to put lala to this box, you might think it would be like this. Instead of lala. So so it is not like random. It's an additional. So Luo, it's two letters, one syllable. It's nice as far as the go. Signify um, singular. See you later. Okay, have a good night. Um, singular and it's not clear what I'm saying here. Singular. So here's the singular in this column. This way. Here's the plural. So you see, is it so one more singular singulars in this section section, and what are these going side to side? This these are persons. And so in studying grammar, things we think person labels. So this is either new terminology or this may be reaching way back to your school days. Person labels. So in Greek and in English, there are three persons. There's the first person, the second person, and the third person, each of which have a singular and a plural. Let's put here the English singulars and plurals. So the first person, the singular, yeah. So if we say the first person singular, I mean, okay, or mean, I say the first person, we, sorts of words slash ideas. So it's the person speaking is the first person. Now the person being spoken to, that is the second person. You in the singular, and then depending on the dialect or the social situation, you might use you again. If I'm talking to more than one person, I say usually just you. Some people will say y'all, or something like that. Use guys. She was very kind of insecure and on this point, second person nowadays, which we did. It was actually ye, y-e. Singular is thou. So if you think about King James, nominative singular like that would be the second person singular. The second person plural, you're talking to a group of people. Ye use it. So would be you. It's interesting. Third person is who you're talking about. So first person who's talking, second person who we're talking to, and third person who are you talking about. The singular is he slash she slash it, depending on the gender, obviously, and then the plural they. Here's sort of another inconsistency in English is that we have this differentiation in the singular. If there's just one thing that we're talking about, we have to specify the gender. But if it's a group, then we just use they. So here we go. First person, second person, third person, singular. First person, second person, third person, plural. So you can see endings. Whereas in English, we use separate words. Here's, distinct circumstance. If you are to say, I'm loosing or destroying, for precision, maybe let's say destroying. So I'm destroying, you have to use 3 words in English. I'm destroying. But in Greek, just one, luo, because this indicates that it's a first person singular destroy. There is a word for it, which we saw readings last week or the week before ago, but you don't need it to indicate who's doing the action because of the sounding. So if you had destroying, so it's really emphatic because you don't need it. You can just say little, and that means destroying. If you say little, it's like destroy. You could say sue, because sue is the word for you. If you're it is destroying Lou, doesn't matter gender, if you're just using the verb, you're going to use a sue to be really emphatic, as we're saying, like, Sue Lewis. Then you have to have a that shows what the gender is of the thing doing it. If you're just using the verb, you don't have separate endings for the separate genders. You just have so Lua, depending on context, could mean he is destroying, she is destroying, or it is destroying, or even the plural. We are destroying. Luata, you are destroying. So Greek, unlike certainly my dialect of English, always makes a distinction between are you talking to one person or are you talking to a group of people? Luis, you're talking to just one person, you are destroying one person. Luata, you talking to a group of people are destroying. Now, Luusi or Luusin, they destroy. The context, whether it's males, all females, all objects, just a mix of things. Now, this new this is called a movable. No way to say it because it's kind of like it's a dispensable new. Take it or leave it kind of new. You can either have this or You can look at the the same verse and depending of the Bible. No one has really explained this works, why this works. It's probably something that changed over time. It's kind of whimsical. No one fully understands kind of why this news seems to come or go. So either way is acceptable. You can read Lucy or seen. That's not true. There are certain speaker. Okay. Examples of sort of in action. So this is Jesus speaking to Nicodemus, Numa, and right here, this you say it's acceptable to say either Numa. This pi is silent or sounded in construction. Different people do it different ways. In strict accuracy, it probably was pronounced in ancient times. So pneuma would be more strictly accurate pronunciation, but it's fine to do this is really strange in this way. That's how we can do. Itain phoneme, how to, voice, yes, then, okay, again, seen some forms, quite a few forms. Pneuma, this is spirit or wind. Second, different ideas can be grouped together in different languages. This is a very full ambiguity. In Greek, Hebrew, as it happens, it's different words in those. In Hebrew, it's ruas. In Greek, pneuma. In both languages, the same word means either spirit or wind. Here plays off meaning spirit. Apu where Phele. Here is our first sentence, and it happens person singular. So remember, third person is we're talking about spirit. Not because it's not singular, it's spirit, so it's got the. So you can see here. So this verb, the stem is. And this has to do with desire, willing. And so the spirit and where no here basically it's there's a detail here that would be for a future lesson. For the moment, let's be slightly accurate and say this is the stem for blowing. You can see how it's related to pneuma, wind or spirit. So winds, so the spirit, where it wills, it wins. See this third person singular ending? And the voice or sound, there's and here is accusative, singular. So first declension, accusative, singular, phone. It's actually funny. The sound of voice, you hear. So it's the stem for hearing. We get the word acoustics from that. And the second person singular ending, like Louis. Remember, second person is you in the singular. And plural. Yeah. You hear. You hear what? Well, the accusative, the direct object, was over here. And the sound or voice of it or him, you hear. So you see how we haven't really had any pronouns yet. I mean, how kind of technically is, but felt, wishes, no, you hear. In all these cases, the ending has shown us who's doing the action. It wills, it blows. You hear. You talking to Nicodemus just one time. So it's the singular. All but not us. You you do not know. Now this, you might wonder, is this, since this is you know instead of ace, it's because it's a different tense. You might wonder, say present. It's a mystery. I will leave you for a future lesson. I'm not gonna touch that one right now. You'll just have to take my word for it. This translates as a present. This is a different tense in Greek. Often, from where it comes, you'll have to again take it on faith for a moment that this is comes, even though this ending isn't on our chart there. It's not third person, singular. So he, she, or it came up. And where goes to go? Okay, where the hutos, thus, Estin is, like in English, maybe drastically than if you think about the English verb is must be the English speaker. Like, I am, you are, he, she is, we are, you are, they are. You are the mess. Now, Greek is not that bad. So the forms are a little bit more transparently related to each other, at least for the most part. So stem is singular, but it does not have this family. So at some point, right, but at some point, you need to learn a special chart for the is verbs. And you is, and so on. You'll have to learn those forms specifically because they're not what you would expect. For some reason, I'm not sure if I have encountered a language yet that was like a really straightforwardly video. We're almost out of time, so let's wrap things up. And then I'll see if there's questions or comments. So thus Again, can it? Questions or comments in the last couple?
That's pretty good, Stephen. It's pretty thick.
Yeah, this should keep you busy. So
There'll be a test on this next week.
this is as low key a set of lessons as it gets. Any testing is something you impose upon yourselves.
All right, that's good. Hey, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any questions out there before he closes? Going once? Twice? All right, I'm going to hit the